Questions and answers. Full version. Yoga wave. Andrey Verba. Victor asks the question. In some sources it said that knees should touch the ground in the meditative asanas. Why is it necessary? Victor, I would ask you the question, why do you need meditative asanas? I am really confident that it's time for you to do meditation. Everyone understands the word meditation in his own way. But nevertheless, I'll try to answer a question. If a person sits with his knees up, as they say, Turkish sitting position, so his knees aren't on the ground, that just means immobility and tightness in the hip joints. And it means that a person has a strong apana wire. If he tries to do internal practices with such energy, he will hardly like the things that he will see on a subtle level. Therefore, it's advisable first to start practicing Hatha Yoga to develop the body and activate apana wire, because on the first stage, apana wire is like the anchor that holds back the development of a practitioner and harm him somehow. But gradually, the same apana wire becomes the engine of progress of this practitioner. So, he needs apana wire in order to pick up and convert it. It will be like a fuel on the path of self-development. You should do yoga comprehensively, but not just try to put the knees to the ground. It's a consequences. The reason is that you need to work with apana wire. Paul asks the question, man accumulates gratitude, transforms it into tapas through the practice. On the one hand, you say that person is spending tapas when practicing. Is there a contradiction? Explain, please. No, there is no contradiction. I'll try to explain. When you have the opportunity to practice, believe me, many beings have made and are still making efforts to provide you with heat and maintain you so that you have a place in the sun and can devote time not to survival on this planet, but practice. That's why it's believed that when you have the opportunity to practice, you are wasting the potential that you have accumulated. Moreover, the practices are different. How do you know that the practices you do will be good for your development? It happens very often when, especially the beginners, periodically do strange practices because of karma. And they call it yoga or meditation. For example, a person has been doing meditation for 25 years and facing the same problems. What does this mean? He does something wrong, probably. Therefore, if people do yoga, it doesn't mean that it's something about development. If a person does yoga just for yoga and sets an illusionary goal such as to get out of samsara by practicing yoga as it's written in the books, it's unlikely that he will get something good, because yoga is a tool of recovery. Of course, the things I'm saying now are not for everyone, but for the vast majority of listeners, this is an important point. Yoga should be a means of rehabilitation after your activity. You should live effectively and bring some benefit to society. And people should thank you for the activity you do for the society. And if it is so, yoga can help you transform this energy. I hope I've explained clearly, although it's very difficult. You are all different. Therefore, the things one needs to hear may be inappropriate for another one, as they should move just in different directions. That's why it's so hard to answer the same question for different people. But I hope you understand me. If you do yoga just for yoga, you will have nothing good in the end. You will spend all the tapas, and that's all. It's important to find some niche in the society which will allow you to get gratitude from people. Ideally, this gratitude should be adequate, because sometimes people foolishly think for something that isn't worth gratitude. But that's a separate issue. Therefore, there is no contradiction, if, of course, you try to understand it. Oleg asks the question, what energy is transferred to a person who resuscitates someone and he lives the life? I work as a lifeguard, thank you. Well, probably the person gets the energy exactly which is necessary for him. Let's say there are 3 rescuers. One is in the mode of goodness, another one is in the mode of ignorance, and the other one is in the mode of passion. Suddenly, an accident or natural disaster happens and a person needs help, and it will depend on the person's karma which of the 3 rescuers will come to him. Therefore, if you have chosen a niche in the society, try to do as honestly as possible the things that you wouldn't mind getting in response. So, it isn't connected with the energies. It's rather the good deeds that you can do for those who need it. Svetlana asks the question: I'm a yoga instructor. Where can I find the strength for conducting yoga classes? I have a feeling that I'm fighting with myself or with the dark forces. Svetlana, it's a tough question because I don't know what kind of yoga you teach as you don't write about it. For example, the person who teaches yoga therapy will always face his own diseases because sick people with different problems will come to him. He will solve their problems and he will actually stay in this energy, and there are yoga teachers who focus on achieving proper body alignment in the asanas. Now it's a great trend in yoga, and in India advanced teachers literally love when talking about proper body alignment because all people are different. It's very difficult to find 2 persons who are physiologically identical, so one person doing an asana will feel one effect. If another person does exactly the same asana aligned in the same way, he will get a different effect. That's why advanced teachers don't care about proper body alignment. They give such practice that helps a person to understand on his own how to perform a particular movement, and Anga began to promote the idea of proper body alignment in Western society. He used even a stick to align someone. But believe me, many people just laugh at it. There's a very good film by Paul Greeley about the subject. We have it on our website. He says very amazing things that are true in fact and completely destroy the concept of the so-called proper body alignment. So, please understand, it depends on what kind of yoga you do and who trained you as a yoga teacher. Ideally, you need to ask the person who taught you. For example, during our yoga teaching training course, I spent a lot of time to explain to people the essence of yoga teacher's life. I don't teach to hold classes only in order to earn money, but to understand that it's a certain mission. As for the way you can support yourself and find an incentive, I tell it to the yoga teachers in the 2nd year of our training course, because many yoga teachers really face this problem when their initial goal loses its meaning, and they have to look for something new. For this purpose, we have especially the 2nd year of study for the yoga teachers who have the experience, and there I tell about it in more detail. I won't be able to explain it all during a 5-minute answer, not because I advertise our course saying come to our yoga teaching training course, there you will hear everything. Just understand, I can't tell you about the things we discuss within 5 or 4 hours. It's impossible. The point is that the result you get will depend on the path of teaching yoga you've chosen to a great extent. But I hope you'll find the strength and continue the path of self-development. It's important. Danila asks the question: are there any adequate Buddhist schools now, or have all of them been already marred in their interpretations, eat meat, drink chan, and so on? Danilo, what's the problem? Well, they eat meat. Your parents probably also ate meat, but nevertheless, you didn't mind their help. Therefore, it's no matter how a person lives. Try to find the grain that will help you in your development in every person. Now, it's naive to believe that you'll find some saint who will be ideal. Moreover, it's even a harmful belief when you think that some teacher would be ideal and absolute, and you would learn from such an absolute and ideal teacher. Why is it harmful? Believe me, you will constantly face disappointments, especially if you are in the beginning of the path. The point is that the teacher as such mustn't spoon-feed you and give you some sugar pills. An adequate teacher must show you your ego. And it depends on your karma whether you endure it or not. But the adequate teacher will never give you a pat on the back and say, "Oh, what a wonderful person you are, how great you do pranayama." He will only criticize you, and in this case you'll have growth. Because if you think that the teacher is something soft and nice, believe me, it isn't so. If your teacher is soft and nice, you'd better look around and find some alternative to such a teacher. Therefore, if you think that some Buddhist school has some knowledge that would be useful for you at this stage of development, just take it and learn from them. It's not a problem at all. Another question. How can depression and apathy be explained within the system of chakras? Apathy or any emotional problem you experience is often connected to the second chakra, but this is already a consequence. If you experience some emotions at the second chakra at some stage, this is equivalent to the fact that you've got up with a springboard, but you'll face a decline sooner or later. This is like coffee or alcohol or some other stimulants. When a person takes it and feels a rise for a while, but then the decline comes. And to eliminate this decline, he needs to rise again. So, all the negative feelings you have are the consequences of energy loss. If you control your energy release, you will always have more or less stable state. Regardless of whether it's cold or hot, whether you like it or not, you will respond to the situation more or less in the same way. But for this purpose, you need to do yoga. Deal with the energies you have, try to understand the energy flow in your body. At a certain stage, you'll feel what chakra is activated and what effect it gives you. Eugene asks the question, "I want to do yoga, but I can't understand why I need it. What would you recommend?" If you're on such level of development that you don't realize what happens around you and in what direction you move, then it's early for you to do yoga. Live the life to the fullest, so to speak. When you are fed up with it, you'll have to climb the mountain, which probably now you'll begin to slide down from. Most people who do yoga now do it life after life. They use the tools of austerity, the tools that help them to overcome themselves and to develop life after life, in order to solve the problems that are around them. And there's only one way out. If you can find inside the aspect of the individual who was engaged in self-development in the past lives, then in this life it will be much easier to do it. Read some literature that will inspire you to do yoga. At the first stage, I recommend to read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Yes, there are some fantastic things described there, but I know a lot of people who were inspired by this book to sort themselves out. And why is it important to sort yourself out? Remember, in the beginning I told you that if you don't practice yoga, you'll begin to live the life to the fullest. Unfortunately, this is true, because sooner or later you will face your selfishness. And your personal selfishness and the selfish goals you'll set will harm others, whether you like it or not. Roughly speaking, the person who has set a goal to have a big house, many cars, or something else spends a resource to satisfy the desire that actually he doesn't need. It is just imposed on him. Nevertheless, it will be a load for the planet. So try to find a middle ground in the way of life and realize whether you need yoga at this stage of development. Daniel asks the question, "Is astrology a ploy for the people who don't want to take responsibility for their karma and think that stars and gods regulate everything? Are there any teachers today who have a good understanding of this topic?" Yes, but for Vaishya. There are some schools that explain why share very well how the so-called stars can affect their fate. Of course, all of this is most likely based on certain models of behavior or behavioral motivations. But the happiness that Vaishyas pursue is rather clear. For them, happiness means a house, a wife, a family, perhaps a car, and the life without war and revolution. Probably for them it's just an idyll. So, of course, the stars will tell them one thing, but there are other categories of people for whom the same stars will tell quite another thing. Accordingly, I don't know if it's a ploy, but the fact is that astrology works for a certain category of people, but it won't work for another category of people. Everyone is different, to each his own. Vladimir asked the question. Many Jataka tales end with the fact that villains fall into the Avicii hell. But except for Devadatta, no one else most likely falls into the Avicii hell. Vladimir continues. The same Devadatta falls into the Avicii hell, but after a couple of Jatakas, he again incarnates in a human or another form. However, those who fall into the Avicii hell stay there forever. How does he come back from there every time? Chronological development of the reality doesn't correspond to the Jatakas, because the Jatakas describe only some manifestations. Let's go back to one saint of Manjushri who said something like the following thing. The planet where we live now is called Sahara World. There is no place in Sahara World where Shakyamuni Buddha, or rather the emanation of Shakyamuni Buddha, didn't give his life to help someone. He always tried to sacrifice. The point is that he lived a huge number of lives in this world. And when some events of the life of Devadatta and Buddha described, it's always some extreme descriptions, where they met each other and Devadatta manifested some crisis for their relationship. There are some Jatakas which describe that Devadatta falls into the Avicii hell and stays there for a long time. At this time, Buddha goes to the Tushita heaven and stays there. After a huge amount of time, they meet each other again. Devadatta comes from the Avicii hell, Buddha gets down from the Tushita heaven. And they have some kind of drama. I hope you understand what I mean. You shouldn't pay attention to the way it's described in the Jatakas. Jataka tales are only the description and nothing else. How does Devadatta get out of there? Maybe someone helps him. Perhaps at some stage of development, Buddha goes down there to get him out and to continue playing out the scenes for their spectators. The personality of Devadatta is not as easy as it seems. Of course, now, especially in Buddhist countries, they scare children with Devadatta. But he isn't so bad. I think that Buddha specifically holds Devadatta nearby as a specific manifestation of negativity for several reasons. And in chapter 12 of the Lotus Sutra, Buddha predicts that Devadatta will become the Tathagata in spite of everything. Moreover, he says that someone who will be able to assume that Devadatta will become the Tathagata will also surely reach incredible heights on the path to self-improvement. Catherine asked the question, what did I do if my husband makes me work and is skeptical about my desire to develop? I work and get very tired. I try to find the time for practice as I can, but sometimes I have no strength because of tiredness. Catherine, you have such a husband in this life, and you'll have to listen to him whether you like it or not. For example, why don't you have another husband who would look favorably to your practice? I know a lot of families where the men create nearly perfect conditions for their wives. It's a fact. But in your case, you have such a husband because of your karma. Try to talk to him periodically, telling how important your practice is. Probably, if he watches my strange lectures, where I say that the wife shouldn't work at all, he will understand nothing, but nonetheless. Moreover, why do you think that you'll be fine if you don't work and stay at home with such a husband? Not at all. Maybe your job is a salvation for you to some extent. Nevertheless, if you want to devote more time to self-development, you have to convince your husband that this is important. I hope he will hear you sooner or later. Tatiana asked the question. Andrey, I've noticed you are online up late and at 5 a.m. conduct meditation. Do you have so little sleep or sleep 2 times a day? Thank you. Diana, it's always different. I don't sleep, especially when I conducted a seminar or uploaded a lecture on the internet. When a lot of people focus on you, it's better not to sleep, because you can fall asleep as one person and wake up as another one. Therefore, it's always different. It's better to live not according to the schedule, but the current situation. But unfortunately, the practitioners on whom a lot of people focus have problems with sleep. Daniel asks the question, what to do about the passions that haven't been tormenting me for a year or two, but suddenly appeared again and hit from all sides? Daniel, the passions came back as you haven't eliminated the cause of these passions. So try to find the cause. But if you don't do yoga, you'll never find the cause of a particular passion. Practice yoga quietly. Start to master the movement of energy flow in the body. Study how your chakras are activated because of a particular energy. Then you'll be able to apply the tools of yoga and to raise the energy from one level to another. Let's say you have a problem with the Manipura chakra. For example, you have an appetite for some food. If you have an appetite for some food, it means that your Swadhisthana chakra is activated because of its taste, or it's poisoned by modern chemicals. Modern products and flavor enhancers are almost a deadly weapon for your taste buds. So, if the taste of food dominates, the Swadhisthana chakra is activated, and if a volume of food dominates, it's connected with the Manipura chakra. And yoga has the tools that help you. But for that, you should have a basis in yoga. Start doing yoga quietly and gradually you will be able to solve this problem. Tamara asks the question, what chakra are emotions of resentment connected to? It's the Swadhisthana chakra, but there is no one to resent in this world. If you think that you are unfairly treated, it's your illusion. Everything is fair in this world. Any event that happens around you is caused by your reflection. So you see only the reflection of the karma you have. It's not an illusion. Probably, I say the utopian things from the point of view of the people who speak about the death of a child at war or a child who has cancer as something bad. But these people don't use the concepts of karma and reincarnation. They don't realize that the child who was born and is living under the bombs now had the karma to be born in that family. If he had the other karma, he would have been born in other circumstances and wouldn't have survived the nightmare that he has to survive now. So, it's pointless to resent the events that are around you. On the contrary, try to treat these events with the utmost respect. Those people who sling mud at you or do something wrong to you from your point of view literally open the path for you by taking some of your negative karma. So, let me give you an example. Sometimes mentally ill people try to do yoga. The person has real problems with his head, but nevertheless he tries to practice yoga. But they are not allowed to do it. The people who have mental disorders are not allowed to practice yoga at all, because they have a peculiar perception of reality. If such a person gets an additional energy from yoga, his oddities can just increase. In India, such people are treated very carefully. If Guruji takes the custody of such a person with a mental illness, it will be his individual responsibility. Nevertheless, people who want to do yoga in this life and don't have this opportunity have the reason for this in their past lives. They have such a problem because in their past lives they said bright is dark and dark is bright. They had a distorted perception. And because of their distorted perception of the reality, they said that some advanced practitioner or teacher was a sectarian or a dissenter, and they slang mud at him or didn't understand why he did this or that thing. Then, in the future lives, such people are destined to be crazy, because this distorted perception will lead to even worse consequences. Moreover, if this person expresses his strange beliefs about the teacher publicly and can motivate someone else to perceive a person negatively, he will be responsible for all the people whom he has helped to see bright as dark. That exacerbates the situation of this person. He is reborn worse and worse life after life. Therefore, try to be sympathetic to the people who are being unfair to you from your point of view. You'll understand it gradually. The question. Please, tell about free choice. Does a person have a choice in his or her life? My experience shows that we have only two choices in our life, and everything else is consequences. Thank you for the feedback. In fact, a certain predisposition certainly exists. All the conditions around you are created by you, but nevertheless, if you feel that you have to do bad things in this or that situation, how bad do you do it? By 5, 10, 50 or 100%? If you know that you can't do things differently for some reason, at least try to minimize the bad things you do. If it's about the fact that you have no way out, so you don't even have any choice, I'm sorry if such a situation has happened. But generally, you always have a choice in any extreme situation. You can always try to introduce some reserves or try to find something to change the situation for the better. There's a very good thing that helps to avoid such situations. Try to live so that people thank you for what you do. If you have this gratitude, you should practice yoga, because without yoga you'll spend this gratitude on certain passions. That's the problem. That's why it's always important to transform the gratitude that comes to you. So, you should change the energy. Then you will have a reserve. Wherever you are, you will be able to choose anyway. You'll have more choices. Well, roughly speaking, you don't have only two options. You'll have more variations. Yes, you will move in one direction, or the fate will lead you in one direction. Nevertheless, the variability will be higher. The solution is to accumulate gratitude and to do yoga. Vlad asks the question. There are 4 outstanding bodhisattvas in Mahayana Buddhism. One of them is Kshitingarbha. He made a vow to help living beings to get out of the hell realms. Did he take their bad karma to release them from hell? Vlad, I wouldn't say so. Kshitingarbha is great, but I think he won't be able to go beyond certain objective things manifested for a particular living being. He can't help the person whom he can't help. Kshitingarbha can help only those who are destined to get his help. So, it's no matter in what hell he is, only those who are destined to get good will get it. So, they just have this karma. I'll give you an example about Mount Galileana and his mother. Maybe not everyone understands what I'm talking about. Shakyamuni Buddha had 2 outstanding disciples, Shariputra and Mount Galileana. They are on the picture behind me. When the mother of Mount Galileana reincarnated into hell, I think for a week, he decided to intervene despite he was one of the outstanding disciples of Buddha. And by that time, Mount Galileana had already managed to influence the reincarnation of living beings. So he reached Samadhi, got into hell and tried to help his mother. Immediately, Shakyamuni Buddha appeared near Mount Galileana and asked him not to do it. Buddha said, "Your mother will be staying here exactly for a week, and then she'll reincarnate very well. But if you intervene and help her to reincarnate, she'll reincarnate even worse." That's why in this case, I wouldn't even take responsibility to think the way you do, that allegedly Kshitingarbha takes someone's karma. It won't be competently, because there are large institutions for this purpose. For example, there's the Institute of Suri's two sons, judge brothers, Shani and Yama, who are responsible for retribution. Shani does retribution during the lives of living beings. He manifests karma to everyone, no matter if it's a man or a god. Yama manifests karma after the death of a living being. Then it turns out that if such a bodhisattva appears, the representatives of these institutions of judgment will say, "You prevent us, to put it mildly, from carrying out our duty." So, I don't think that Kshitingarbha will intervene in these structures. I hope I answered your question. So, Kshitingarbha can help someone because this living being has karma to be helped. He helps for a reason. You won't even be able to help anyone. The question: if I have heart problems after yoga class, would you advise to continue slowly or take a break? I strongly advise you to go to the doctor and do a heart exam in order to find out if you can do any physical activity. You mustn't have any heart problems after yoga class. Maybe you do some kind of distorted yoga where physical load is like for horses. There are some kinds of such yoga. Teachers give excessive exercise stress because they have such level of practice. Roughly speaking, when a teacher has been doing yoga for many years, he needs to increase exercise stress for himself. And they automatically start doing the same thing for their students. I mean the classes when they do 6 splits during one practice, or yoga classes that last 3 or 4 hours. There are some precedents. I know such guys. These guys are great, but I'm not sure that the students need it. So I advise you to go to the doctor quickly to do a heart exam. If after that the doctor says that you can do yoga or rather any kinds of sports, you can continue your classes, or at least find yoga classes without high exercise stress and breathing exercises, because yoga teachers, especially if they are beginners, give such breathing exercises that it's unreasonable to give. I try not to give breathing exercises with breath holding, because I saw with my own eyes how people were going crazy because of pranayama. So, believe me, it's a controversial issue. Constantine. Thanks to a club, I found a wholesome vector of development. People around me also start doing yoga. Thank you for your work. Constantine, if you just want to think, it's great. Try to do the same, bring knowledge to the people, and the world will be better. And the mission of our club is to change the world for the better through ourselves. Because when you begin to do yoga, you become well-adjusted, you have a calmer attitude to any negative situation, you become more environmentally friendly, you spend less resources on the planet and fight your selfishness, which destroys the planet and all the society. In fact, selfishness destroys everything around. I mean, personal human selfishness, when some people, for example, believe that they are God's chosen, they are special, and all other people are just their slaves. Think about it. What a worldview a person must have to believe that he or she is God's chosen. But there are such people, and they even promote it to others. So, they have the right, so to speak. It's Kali Yuga. What can you do? But nevertheless, when a person starts the path of yoga, he or she lives more eco-friendly. It's the most important thing, and we are really interested in it. I've seen a lot of examples when people doing yoga get a great good for their life. But in the previous answer, I told you that I saw people who had got problems because of hard pranayama. That's true. However, the percentage of such people is minimal. Roughly speaking, there are 100 crazy people people for every 1,000 people in modern society. It's statistics. This percentage in yoga is even less. People who do yoga are much more adequate than average consumers, so to speak. That's why, if you have the opportunity to distribute adequate knowledge, try to do it. If you have no such opportunity, help those who can do it better than you now. But nevertheless, learn to do it on your own. I will not go into details, while it's important for everyone to do something for others on his own. Stanislav asked the question, when can I start giving meditation and pranayama at yoga class for beginners? The Hatha Yoga Pradipika says that a person should prepare his body first. Thank you. Stanislav, you need to relearn as a yoga teacher, because if you are a teacher and don't know where you studied, that you have been taught to give pranayama and meditation for beginners, it's nonsense. Well, I assume that there are some strange schools, but it's really strange. You better learn. For example, on our yoga teachers training course, especially in the first year of training, we give only the techniques that will help a person to deal with the body, because pranayama primarily gives the energy that the average. Therefore, at this stage, try to deal only with your physiology and the physiology of your students. Then, at least, you will not have any problems. As for the answer to your question, try not to give pranayama for beginners. Only people who have the experience in practice to some extent and have already prepared their body can do pranayama. And as for meditation, it's even more difficult, because the thing what you mean by meditation most likely is a big illusion. I'll give you an example. Now I conduct online course in the morning at 5 a.m. when we develop concentration. It's preparation for meditation. Nevertheless, the guys who practice it now in April will get incredible results. I hope to ask these guys at the end of the month to summarize their experience and describe the things this course has given them. If you read it on our website, I think you'll get inspired by the fact that careful concentration on breath can give very good results. At least you will be calmer towards the events that happen around you. And calmness is the basis of the adequate life, because all the problems arise because of flightiness or hasty decisions. Calmness is extremely important, and the practices we do primarily provide a calm view of reality. Angela asked the question, why are we allowed to read the Lotus Sutra? The book says that many of those who came to the meeting were asked to leave it. How to understand whether I am worthy of reading this sutra? Angela, you misunderstood it at all. No one asked them to leave. They left on their own because of their pride, as Buddha said the phrases that broke their stereotypes. So, 5,000 people left the meeting. There's such an explanation. If you got the book which you can read, this is your karma. You've noticed this book not for nothing. So, if you got it, it means you got it due to your karma. So, try to read it. The book in the Russian language is called Sadharma Pundarika Sutra. It was translated by Ignatovich. Many thanks to him and all the people who helped him for spending so much energy on this work. Please, understand. Maybe I tell you an amazing thing, but this book doesn't contain the body of the sutra. In any language, you can't find the Lotus Sutra, which would explain directly the shlokas that Buddha told the Bodhisattvas. Sutra describes only what happened at that meeting. You may not understand what I mean, but it's not important. Let me give you an example. When Shakyamuni Buddha read Sadharma Pundarika Sutra in the heaven, if I'm not mistaken, there were 300 chapters, so a huge number. The Lotus Sutra that was left for people contains only 28 chapters. Think about it. Do you feel the difference between 300 and 28 chapters? Nevertheless, you can understand the body of the sutra if you know the original Theravada that Buddha gave to voice hearers and Pratika Buddhas. It's the so-called initial Mahayana. On the one hand, you need to study Mahayana. On the other hand, you should be familiar with Vajrayana that Tibetan Buddhism is promoting now. And through the difference of them, you will see the essence, the golden mean. This is the golden mean that is missing in the text of Dharma Pundarika Sutra. Nevertheless, if you have karma, you'll see it. So, it's not a problem. Probably you didn't fully understand the text of this sutra. Continue reading and perhaps you'll understand it. I hope you don't think that I'm being sarcastic with you, saying that you don't understand something. Yes, you don't understand it for now. If you had read the text and noticed that someone was asked to leave, it means that you haven't read the sutra adequately yet. Dmitry asked the question, "Hello, Andrey, I became a widower at the age of 26. Now I'm 28. Since the age of 12, I've been plagued with thoughts of monastic life. Is it positive in terms of yoga to remain a widow and to devote the rest of the life to self-development and development of other people around? How big will be the chance in this case to meet my wife in a future life and to continue the development together? Thank you." Dmitry, all people are different. Probably someone needs it, someone doesn't need it. I can't tell you exactly what you need in this life. Think for yourself. Ideally, try to find wise people in your environment and consult with them. It's very important to know how a person lives in order to answer his question. Mainly, all the so-called monasteries were created for those who aren't suited for the life of Vaishya. Either a person couldn't live as Vaishya as he was below this level and then went to the monastery, or, on the contrary, he surpassed the level of Vaishya and he had nothing interesting there. They also went to a monastery or an ashram. So, it's hard to say what you should do. Everyone has his own path. Alexander asks the question, if in the past one man became addicted to a particular passion and has learned some ways to satisfy this passion because of me, and he continues to degrade, as for me, I began to do yoga and changed life completely. Does this mean that I accumulate negative karma every time he satisfies this passion? No, not exactly, because the person who fell under the influence of your negative information had karma to fall under this influence. You poisoned him simply because he had karma to be poisoned. But there's a positive moment in what you say. You have managed to start the alternative path. Most often this happens when a person has drug addiction or another awful addiction and helps someone else to become addicted. And when this person sees how someone else degrades because of him, he realizes, "Oh my God, what I've done." If you have managed to evolve, you must tell that person about an alternative point of view. When he is of sound mind and memory, try to explain him that now you are ashamed of what you did for him. If he has the karma to give up this way, maybe he'll hear you and give up. If not, then perhaps in the future life, someone will mislead you in the same way and you will get this poison. Denise asked the question. In one of your lectures, you said that if one has a desire, it means he has energy. In the evening, I have an increasing desire to do something natural, wasting time on the internet or gluttony. Denise, you got off easy. I know people who do really unnatural things. I practice yoga every day in the morning for an hour, do asanas for 2 hours, in the evening 3 times a week, and work 5 days a week. Denise, why do you do yoga for an hour in the morning and asanas in the evening 3 times a week? Are you sure that you are able adequately to control the energy you get in this way? Perhaps you do yoga, but a little out of the right way. If your practice leads to passions, it means that there's something wrong with your practice. Please consider what you are doing and what goal you have. Perhaps your goal is not the most altruistic. Try to do some service. I don't know what you are doing, what gratitude you get for your work, but the passions increase if there's something wrong in yoga practice. So, you have either not enough practice or too much practice. But you should have a golden mean. So, try to reconsider what you are doing. Elizabeth. Andrey, hello. Thank you for your work. It would be very interesting to know your opinion. Why are the sinners, drug addicts, alcoholics and others drawn to the people who are against all these things? Why do they pretend to be nice, say that they just make a lot of mistakes and offer marriage? Why do people who live according to their consciousness have such a trial? Elizabeth, I often face such situations, and I know how difficult it is for normal women to find adequate men in the modern society. There are few adequate men, it's a fact. Many of them got drunk. And when you come to a yoga class and see that there are 80% of single women and 20% of single men, you realize that there's something wrong in the society. But it's a fact that this problem exists. Try to look at the bigger picture. Maybe you don't notice someone who is still adequate, but you get only the experience you need. I haven't seen any drug addicts around for a long time, for many years. Of course, sometimes strange guys with herbs or so-called laughing teeth come to our yoga camp, but we try to ask them to leave. Oh, I heard that they do some strange things based on tea. Yes, there are such people among yogis. But as for a real drug addict who does really crazy things, I saw such a person many years ago. So you have such a karma. I hope it will be short and adequate people will appear around you. According to the law of karma, any trial or any suffering can't last forever. If now you have a trial when there are some drug addicts around you, this is really your karma at this stage of development, but it's not forever. Everything will change gradually. Maxim asks the question, good evening, the time has come when I don't feel any more discomfort and austerity in many of the asanas. Do I need to continue doing them or use other methods? Maxim, you can always find the complication for every asana, maybe you just don't know it. I don't know what yoga you practice, but you can do one and the same asana with different complications during many years. This is the first option, there's a second one. Probably now you live like in the greenhouse. You don't get enough concentration from other people and you don't get systematic tightness in the body. What does it mean? If you were a yoga teacher, you would develop in the following way. Your body is okay and you go to conduct yoga practice. After the class, you come home and feel that something is wrong. In the morning, your stretching was good and now it's bad. You just have conducted a class. You'd think everything would be just the opposite. But it happens exactly this way, because if you help a person to deal with his or her energy during the class, you will have this problem at this or that particular level. The people who still run away from their karma don't feel this principle. They don't feel how fast the energy comes back. They live in ignorance. Eat meat, drink alcohol, even yoga teachers do that. Therefore, the return doesn't happen quickly for them. They don't understand it. But when they understand the avalanche of problems will come to them at once, roughly speaking, they are running away from problems now, but when the problems catch up with them, a lot of amazing things will appear in their life immediately. So try to tell people about wholesome life. You will begin to feel problems in your body immediately. And then a new level of your self-improvement will start. Elena asked the question, Andrey, I have a problem, swollen feet. It was very bad when I was among weak people at work. In the morning the legs were thin, in the afternoon twice thicker, and in the evening the foot was swollen. Now, if I bench them sitting, they are still swollen. What would you recommend? Elena, you should consider the activities you are engaged in. Maybe this load is too big for you. Try to reduce the load. And the thing that helps with the legs swelling is inverted asanas. But you can't do only inverted asanas. You need to do yoga sequences for the harmonious development of the whole body plus inverted asanas. Probably, if you raise the legs for 5 or 10 minutes, depending on your level of training, you will feel a little bit better, but it will be the treatment without removing the cause. And the cause is in the life you lead. You should change something in your life, then you will solve the problem with your feet. Dmitry asked the question, where to start planning building the house on your own land? Is it better to unite with someone? What is your experience in this issue? What is it better to consider? Ancestral settlement, eco-village, or maybe some other forms of associations of people who want to live honestly in harmony with nature? Dmitry, first you should understand why you do it. Well, you'll go to the eco-village, build a beautiful house and live there. And what does it give to you? I will give you an example. We also have a small eco-village. There's an Anastasia-inspired eco-village near us. It's one of the largest in Russia. I don't know how many families live there now. Our eco-village was built 10 years ago, and they had started building their eco-village about 5 years before. So probably it was 15 years ago. There are a lot of houses there, but in fact, almost all the people use their houses as summer cottages. Only those families who found some sources of income stay there in winter. Someone has cows and sells milk, someone does handicraft, someone provides some other services. If you don't have any activity that will help you to earn your living, you won't live there. As for the people who will live around you, it's no matter whether it will be Anastasia-inspired ones or maybe some Christians who also create such eco-villages. It's all secondary because the ideology is changed and the life remains. So you'll have only those people around whom you deserve at this stage of your development. Where to start? First to think why you want to do it. To escape from civilization? Is it really a bold move to escape in order to make your life easier? Yes, we also live in a society. But I could live in the eco-village and maybe even find something to do to earn my living. But nevertheless, I live in the city. For me, it's much more difficult. That's why I live here. Although I have the opportunity to create so-called nirvana and everything will be okay. But actually, I can't afford it. Probably consciousness doesn't allow me to do it. Anastasia asked the question, hello, why do the saints can help all people regardless of their level of consciousness? Can this be explained by the fact that feeding the hungry Shudra, the saint creates the potential for him to develop in the future? Thank you for your answer. Anastasia, if it is about Indian society, it's done for a reason. They help not just the Shudras, but mentally ill people. I have just recently looked through my records, which I made in one ashram. They literally do almost the whole rituals when they bring together homeless people or people with mental disabilities and give them food and other things for free. It seems perfectly normal, but there's one point of view that explains why it is done. It's not very nice. That's why I'm thinking whether to tell it or not. So, Brahmanas often give alms to strange people so that these strange people take the levels of the so-called saints or advanced practitioners along with these alms. That's a reality. I saw it with my own eyes. It's a real ritual. Why do they do it? You have also correct interpretation. They do it to create a certain karmic connection with the being. The saints can afford it. As for Russia, it's much more difficult for a number of reasons. Russian society is so exhausted by different wars, revolutions, wars. I'm just wondering how the people were able to preserve some basics of spirituality here. The things that were done with Russia for the last 1,000 years are just a nightmare. And the Russians haven't lost spirituality. It's just surprising. In India, of course, it's much easier, but there's no guarantee that living in India is much easier than in Russia. In fact, for me, as for Russian, it's much easier to live in Russia, despite the fact that sometimes the strange laws are adopted here. However, I managed to survive here and, as people say, to create benefit for others. Elena asked the question. There was the answer about pets. I have a question. I have a cat in my apartment. It's a predator and I have to feed it with meat. Our family is vegetarian and every time I wonder how to feed the animal and not violate the principle of ahimsa. If I gave it vegetarian food, it would be violence over its nature. I'd like to hear your point of view. Elena, well, you have already got this cat. Why do you feed it with meat? At least try to buy the service. The stuff in packages that is sold for cats now isn't meat. It's bone meal mixed with different stuff. Of course, there are some manufacturers who say they produce kosher meat for your pets. I highly doubt it. So, I can't answer your question. You should have thought of that earlier before getting a cat. If you have already got it, and you have this karma, at least try to minimize the karmic consequences for this cat. We have cats in our eco-village, but it's salvation. Our cats eat mice, which wouldn't allow us to plant gardens in our eco-village. Not everyone knows that mice harm horticultural crops to a great extent. If a tree is under 3 or 5 years and its bark is very soft, in winter, hungry mice get to the bark under the snow and nibble it. They can nibble 3 or 5 centimeters of the bark of a young tree and the tree dies. Mice are like a disaster for us. I'm not talking about the fact that they eat everything. I remember the years in the eco-village when we haven't got cats yet. It was just hardcore. You could even wake up because of the mice in the house. They walk so loudly that you just wake up. And then the cats appeared and the problem with mice was solved. This doesn't mean that I bought a cat. People brought cats and left them in our eco-village. So, Elena, try to solve this issue. Alex asked the question, what cleansing techniques, asanas or other yoga tools can help to get rid of gastritis? Thank you. Alex, there is a technique that can help, but I won't name it. Let me explain why. I don't know how phonetically you will do it. If you do this practice for the treatment of gastritis 3 times a day, you will have ulcer. I can't tell you about it because I don't know you. it's better to consult with a specialist. Actually, there are some asanas and kriyas that can help to solve the problem of gastritis. But you need to ask a yoga teacher who will know you. And if you aren't adequate, he will understand that he shouldn't tell you about it. I said that not because I think that you are inadequate in this issue. I'm just trying to explain that it's impossible to give these practices for everyone. It's necessary to look at the worldview of the person. Kim asks the question, Andrey, what do the scriptures say about making a living through teaching yoga? Thank you. Kim, the so-called scriptures such as Vedas or something else don't even consider such a concept as earning a living. In the writer's time, such problem as making a living for a yogi didn't exist. If you were born in the Brahman caste, you had the opportunity to practice yoga. All the others who were born at that time even didn't have this opportunity. Think about the situation. This is the so-called Vedic society, which a lot of people dream about. If it existed in our time, everything would be excellent. Yeah, it would be excellent, but only for the 1% of population. That's why these Vedic principles are controversial. There were very big problems in Vedic society, believe me. Now you should be guided not by the things written in the scriptures. There were different conditions. You should be guided by the following principle. You should choose the activity in order to accumulate bad karma minimally. The problem is not how you will earn money, but the problem is what consequences making money will cause not only in this life, but also in the future life. If a yoga teacher does yoga therapy all his life and tries only to return health to people without changing their worldview, there's a chance that nothing good will come out of such teaching, although this activity is very popular in economic terms. It's much easier to sell yoga therapy than self-discovery by means of yoga. So, if you promote more or less adequate style of yoga and people thank you even financially for it, believe me, it's very, very good. This is even a rare karma to have it, when you have survived in this consumer society and managed to start the path of self-development. But the most important thing is the consequences of your life. Try to find the form of saving the society which would have no karmic consequences. But you won't be able to do it. Believe me, each specialization has a flaw that can lead to the negative development. However, there's an exception. If you are really a teacher and bring knowledge in one form or another, and your knowledge doesn't lead your students to the accumulation of new negative karma, you will also avoid many negative things in the future. So, this issue isn't mentioned in the scriptures, because this problem didn't exist at that time. Basil asked the question, Andrey, does popularization of yoga lead to its commercialization? You know, there's a proverb. If you are born to be hanged, then you'll never be drowned. If one begins to practice yoga and he has the karma to be financially secure, he will be financially secure. If this man runs a business, he will be also financially secure. This man will do something else, he will still be financially secure. Therefore, you shouldn't judge the fact whether the person does the right thing. I've been consciously watching the development of yoga on this planet since 1992. So, it's about 25 years. Assume that many thousands of people passed before my eyes. Someone tried to do yoga, someone managed to do yoga. I say someone tried because a lot of people tried to do yoga and face some difficulties. They don't have enough energy to overcome them, or daily routine doesn't allow doing yoga. So people give up yoga. Nevertheless, I have big statistics of people who have managed to improve their quality of life very much. I don't mean any material things. For example, one began to do yoga and build a house. I mean that people change the perception of the world and begin to live more harmoniously. If they begin to live more harmoniously, the world around them becomes more harmonious. They become more environmentally friendly. A lot of people begin to think about the consequences of their life. This is incredibly important. And the thing we do is the so-called popularization of yoga. It's an attempt to help the society. Although probably someone will say it's a bit of an overstatement. Yoga is a kind of sect, they're all vegetarians. Perhaps there are such people. I'm smiling because I remembered the cartoon Dana on the Moon. If you haven't watched it yet, watch it or read a fairy tale novel by Nikolai Nosov. There was a dictator on the moon. He was financially secure, and he was like a vampire who sucked the energy from the whole planet. And Nikolai Nosov included the following words in the lexicon of this character: rascals, vegetarians. But the reality is quite the opposite. Vegetarians live more consciously towards not only other people, but the planet as a whole. Therefore, the popularization of yoga doesn't lead to its commercialization. Those people who are destined to get to some commercial trends will surely get, believe me. Let me give you an example. Some years ago, we had a yoga club in Moscow where we conducted yoga classes. But we have changed the format. Now we conduct almost all classes online. And I believe that it's more environmentally friendly. There's no need to go somewhere. It's more convenient for people. Someone will say, Andrey, but you don't see your students. Believe me, after a while I'll see them, but only if they want it. But that's secondary. So, there were 2 yoga studios near our yoga club in the neighboring blocks. One of them was a well-known Ashtanga yoga center. They conducted very intense yoga classes. It's a very good school. They contributed very much to yoga in Russia. They should be respected for this. Although they had to fight because of the karma and their activity has subsided in comparison to what it had been before they began to fight and find out who was to get more money. The other one was a well-known glamorous yoga center. People couldn't come to us, came there because we had unpretentious locker rooms and humble interior. And people had a choice. Those who wanted better service went to the more glamorous studio. Who needed more physical activity went to Ashtanga Yoga Center. And we had the so-called golden mean. For us, it was the best environment for communication and development. Therefore, believe me, everything in this life is harmonious and balanced. If someone needs to promote commercialization, they will still do it. And you can do nothing about it. It's their path, it's necessary. By no means you shouldn't condemn someone who promotes some strange concepts. All of them are necessary. Perhaps you won't understand it. People can say about someone, this is the wrong type of yoga. It's incorrect. You shouldn't say so. Many years ago, one of my friends, who had created a large and commercially successful yoga center, said such a thing. I was in one yoga class where the teacher made the students do the extreme position in asanas. On the very first day, they hurt their knees. It's a nightmare, it's bad. That's why we'll create a good yoga approach. So he began to promote proper body alignment in the asanas, and he's still promoting it. Well, probably he didn't watch the film by Paul Greeley, though maybe he watched it, but his business doesn't allow him to abandon the concept of proper body alignment. Nevertheless, negative example became the incentive for him to create a yoga studio. He saw negative things and decided to do better, and he managed to do it. I'm sure he brought good to a large number of people. Actually, I also know people who got good even in that glamorous yoga center, although it's very strange for me that people choose such yoga. So, that's fine, to each his own. But keep in mind, if the guy who began to do things better hadn't encountered that negative example, probably the desire to create something better wouldn't have come to him. Do you understand what the point is? I hope you do. Therefore, all that negativity is a necessary component for the development of some promising events. So, you shouldn't say that some yogis are strange and promote some strange things. They do what is necessary. Everything is harmonious in this world. Kirill asks the question, how do you feel about the books by Carlos Castaneda and combination of the practices presented in his books and classical yoga? I don't feel anything about it. Kirill, please understand, to each his own. As they say, every cook praises his own broth. Probably there are people whom communication with carcasses can help. I am not judging. I try not to judge anyone. If a person is doing certain things on this planet, do you think he is doing it just because he wants to do it? No, his mission is to do so. And it's not my prerogative to decide who does good things and who does bad things. There are people in military uniform who decide that something is good or bad. Unfortunately, they will have a very heavy load in the future lives. They just haven't realized it yet, poor guys. However, everyone gets exactly what is necessary for him, and I wouldn't judge anyone. Yelena asks the question, is it possible to combine yoga classes and fitness at the first stage? I feel that I need more active movement. I often want to go jogging or something like this after Hatha yoga. No problem. If you think that something isn't enough in your life, try it. Maybe you will succeed. Probably Hatha yoga that you do is really not enough for you. Try Ashtanga yoga classes. You'll have a really cool physical activity there. You will definitely not want to jog. Perhaps you only need to change the yoga studio and you'll get harmony from yoga. But keep in mind that any activities can have side effects. As for the jogging, probably it can be good for someone, but I know a lot of people who have renal ptosis because of jogging. Radha also constantly has problems with back or knees. Jogging is a broad concept. Much depends on how much you will jog, how you will jog, how much your weight is, what physical training you have, and so on. Maria asks the question, Namaste. When I'm chanting mantra Om using alphabets, other mantras are repeated in my mind. What would you recommend? Maria, I guess you have been chanting mantra Om not for a long time, so you hear some other mantras. No problem. Continue chanting. If you don't want, don't continue. Chant something else. To each his own. Don't get me wrong, I am not going to tell you that mantra Om is the best mantra and you should chant only it and give up everything else. If you haven't realized it yet, there's no problem. On our website, video.om.ru, you can write mantra Om in the search bar. Watch my lectures about mantra Om where I tell you why I recommend to chant it. We also have other lectures. Probably you'll find the answer to the question why it's better to chant Om. Well, probably you won't find and will reach something else. No problem. Sergey asked the question. After the 6 months of meditation, I began to achieve the states that are similar to Samadhi according to the descriptions in the books. Sergey, this is very dangerous. I don't know what meditation you do, but believe me, the result can be very different from what you expect. Later I'll explain why. So, I continue reading. After 1 or 2 months of this paradise, I face all the problems of this world. I can't meditate, all of the desire is strong, and it has happened many times over the past 25 years. So, you fall into the same trap during 25 years. Didn't you understand that there's something wrong? I am surprised, Sergey. What am I Doing wrong how? To help myself. Most likely you are doing everything wrong. Excuse me, but I don't know what meditation you do and why you do it. Meditation is the tool for the deep self-control. I know very few people in this life who need meditation here and now. For the vast majority of people, it's just the tool for recovery. And the things that happen to you mean that you're going too far. So you should change something. If you hadn't managed to do it during 25 years, then I suspect that you won't understand my words too. Most likely, you have such a fate, the rise to nirvana, then the fall to hell. Try to harmonize it. But nevertheless, I'll tell you what to do to neutralize this negative situation. Perhaps your problem is that you do yoga not for an altruistic purpose. Let's say you want to experience the so-called nirvana, but it's utopia. You have this physical body, but soon you'll have to leave it. Let's say you will live for some time, but you'll leave your body anyhow. This happens to all the people. You're not an exception. And the place where you go will depend on how effectively you lived. Even if you are wasting your life with the help of yoga, do you think that you'll have a good birth? If you don't pay all the kind of debts in this life, probably you'll have not a very good reincarnation. Therefore, Raja Yoga, the yoga of service, must come first. Now, some schools, which, to put it mildly, interpret everything in their own way, say that Raja Yoga means service to God and chant His holy names. This is one of the views, it's rather mercantile. For example, one can say, I'll chant the names of God, reincarnate in certain loka, and everything will be fine. To put it mildly, it's naive to believe it. You should see the manifestation of God in every person around you. And when you bring knowledge and help this person to realize certain things, you help him to develop the qualities of God or the personality of Absolute. The concept of God may sound strange. When they say God, one may perceive God as someone who only punishes everyone with fine sword. As it is said in the scriptures, it's one God. Other scriptures say other things. Therefore, it's better to speak about a particular universal mind that is absolute. So, you should see a part of absolute in every person around you, and try to give knowledge in order to help this part of Absolute to evolve. So, a person will change and the society around will change. That's why try to do some service to the society, but not meditation. Perhaps you will feel the difference. Alina asked the question, the injuries on the mat are a person's karma, aren't they? Yes, it's logical, everything is life and karma. Even the injuries on the mat are also karma. Ksenia asked the question, during the practice of pranayama, you repeatedly recommend to avoid conflicts in order not to waste the energy accumulated through the practice. Why do these conflicts often arise out of nowhere? What is the mechanism and the causes of these conflicts? How can we neutralize it? There are two questions. Why do I recommend avoiding conflicts and how to neutralize? As for the first one, we do the initial breathing exercises. We learn how to breathe. Nevertheless, I know that these exercises give additional energy. And if a person gets extra energy, it means that he or she may spend that energy incorrectly if he or she gets into a conflict. If someone yells at this person, probably he or she will begin to yell twice louder than ever. That's why it's better to retain the energy from the practice, not get involved in any conflicts, so that you'll achieve the result. Ksenia, if you read the messages in our chat, where I ask the guys to describe their experiences, and every time after the class about 20 people describe what positive results they get in life, even from these online classes, so you see, people get good. Perhaps they get good because they control themselves. then this energy contributes to their self-discovery. If you have practiced concentration on the breath and begin to spend your energy on emotions, you won't get the result. And as I'm interested in your result, I advise that try to control yourself, otherwise you'll get no result. And why do the conflicts arise? The main problem is people around you. There are people, vampires, pardon the expression. I don't mean beings that suck blood and are shown on TV in the movies. However, there are surely some beings that still use blood in their rituals. But the reason of vampirism is energy. People deliberately can make someone express some emotions in order to get his life energy. Roughly speaking, imagine there are Bob and John. And for example, Bob is a vampire. What is he doing? He comes to John and says, "John, you are just a bastard, you are bad." So Bob says something to hurt John, and Bob knows very well John's weakness that can make him get angry. And when he gets angry, Bob is opening and starts consuming John's energy. It's very bad from a karmic point of view because this man doesn't understand the law of karma. He doesn't understand that the energy that he takes from someone will be also surely taken from him sooner or later. He is just the conductor of these negative energies. So, if there are such people around you and they feel your life energy after pranayama, they can provoke you. Older people very often use this form of vampirism. You know, there are a lot of jokes about mothers-in-law. Do you think it's for no reason? Nothing of the sort. Old women often don't get enough energy from their beloved men from whom they used to take energy. So such a woman switches to the young husband of her daughter and tries to get some energy in the same way, by hook or by crook, as they say. She creates the situation to make him generate the energy. And she only consumes this energy. But everything will return back to that mother-in-law exactly in the same way. She will have to work it off in the future lives. The more negative things she does for her children, the more such things will return back to her. I hope I answered the question. You should control yourself. Don't respond to provocation. Why do they arise? They arise because of your karma. If you had provoked someone into expressing some emotions in your past lives, you will also face people who will provoke you. Try to control yourself. The situation will gradually improve. Vidislava asked the question, "Tell me please how effective the meditation retreat diving into silence is. The reviews on this vipassana are impressive. Is it really to remember some fragments from the past lives? What skills is it necessary to develop to do it easier during the retreat?" I'll answer to your questions gradually. Firstly, it's really good practice, probably because of the energy accumulated through the practice in the place where it's conducted. Moreover, we conduct not the same vipassana as it's promoted in the Eastern countries, because the mentality of people is different. Imagine vipassana which came from Sri Lanka. It's always warm in this country, and you feel warm while practicing. No one freezes on such vipassana. You can sweat but not freeze. If the same technique is transferred to our harsh climate, then people will just freeze and their bodies become stiff. It will be difficult to get some experiences. Roughly speaking, it will be easier to perform the same technique in that country. So, we need to add something to make the body more flexible. So, we have included Hatha Yoga. We give the opportunity to the guys who want to practice different types of Hatha Yoga every day. Moreover, we constantly invite different yoga teachers so that people try different types of yoga. But nevertheless, the reviews of the guys show that Hatha Yoga only helps. When you need to sit and meditate during 5 hours, it works in one way, but when you use both statics and dynamics, it becomes much easier to get some experiences. It's a fact. You can read the reviews. They are real, this is not fiction, we don't make someone write these reviews. The guys sincerely tell about their experience. Actually, achieving a certain concentration, you can remember the past lives. These are not my words. Patanjali and Shakyamuni Buddha said it. So, if you want to remember your past lives, firstly, you need to develop your concentration. And that's what we are doing. Then certain flashes from the inner world begin to appear. But it's not quite your past life. This is not quite right concept. You, as a person, were created at the moment of your birth in this life. Yes, your soul was partially involved in creating your personality. The soul gave you certain habits. They can be good or bad, but nevertheless, even if you as a person remember the past lives, you will remember the lives not of this specific person, but the experiences that your Jivatma as the soul got. I use such a term as the soul. But there are some souls people who really don't remember anything. It's much more difficult for them from this point of view. So, you're immersed in self-discovery and cause the flashes from your inner world that will be obvious for your soul, not for your mind. It's like watching a movie. As for the preparation, different people come to us. Some of them come even without preparation and they get the result. And some people are well prepared and they also get the result. All people are different. Practice asanas may be using videos if, for example, there are no such yoga classes in your town. You can also practice yoga online. So, try to practice because you should prepare the body. Learn how to walk because we alternate statics and dynamics in our classes. We learn how to walk. It's really a particular practice. Try to walk every day, for example, during an hour, so that nothing will distract you. Try not to look at anything and concentrate. There's such a description. You should walk and be aware of your movement every second. You should realize movement of your arms and legs. You should watch how the joints, muscles and other mechanisms in your body work. Watching all this, you can achieve peace and calmness. And this ultimately leads to concentration, which allows you to do a better self-discovery. So, preparation is necessary. Our participants are mostly vegetarians. I can't imagine someone coming with the sausage and eating it at night. People who come don't usually mind a vegetarian diet. If you read the reviews, you'll find out that everyone likes our food, so try to prepare. However, you may come with minimal preparation. There were such precedents. The main thing is to find determination to come for 10 days when you will have no communication. You will save your energy. But we don't take away the phones. If you want, of course, you can go and make calls. But I advise you to keep silent. So, hope to see you at our meditation retreat and you'll experience firsthand that the things I told about are real. Ilona. Hello, I have a question, the answer to which I couldn't find on the internet. Ilona, I'm so glad that you were looking for the answer first. People very often ask the questions first and then try to find the answers to their questions on their own. That's awful. For example, a man asks a question and I have to ask him to look for the answer on the internet on his own. It's impossible to answer to the question of a man who even didn't try to find something on his own. And I'm just glad that you try to look for the answer to a question. Ilona continues. I began to attend yoga classes in one club. At one of the stages of the class, the teacher asked to chant the mantra Satanama. The teachers of Kundalini Yoga most likely do that. I know that there is such mantra in Kundalini Yoga. This mantra caused the rejection because of the letter combination similar to the word Satan. It surprises me. I know it's possible, but how is chanting the mantra Satanama connected with Satan? The word Satan has no relevance to the reality. People are brainwashed by this word to such extent that Ilona even sees something negative in it. Actually, in the Vedic culture, the being that we use to call Satan is called Mara. Well, the religion that scares people with Satan is young, but Vedic culture is much more ancient. And what does Mara do? He satisfies passions first of all. Roughly speaking, when you turn on the TV and someone tries to sell some tasty food or something else to you, keep in mind, this is Mara. Although it can be done in a very glamorous way, and copywriters have spent a lot of time to do it in such a way. Okay, I'll read the question to the end. Excuse me, but your question made me smile immediately. I'd like to clarify if this mantra had appeared long before the doctrine of Satan, or the people really promote questionable things in the yoga clubs. To be honest, it's all nonsense. When I told you that it's all nonsense, I remembered myself when I was young. I was 22, and one man brainwashed me very much. He said that yoga was very bad, and he did it so energetically and reasonably that I was really brainwashed. I went to another friend. At that time, I had few friends, and it's good that I went to this guy. I came to him and said, "Do you know what they say about yoga? The yogis are so and so, they're really bad. Yoga is not for our people, it's for Indians. The Indians, but not the Europeans, should do yoga. We should just put the candles, but on the expression." And my friend laughed and said the same thing that I said to you. It's all nonsense. It means that you should pay attention to the essence, but not just put the candles. And such an opinion on this issue dispelled all the doubts. Don't get me wrong, I am not a representative of Kundalini Yoga school, but I understand what they do. And I know a lot of people whom Kundalini Yoga helped to solve many problems. Moreover, they had quite serious problems, and it's Kundalini Yoga that helped them to solve these problems. I don't practice Kundalini Yoga, but now it turns out that I defend Kundalini Yoga all of a sudden. So, if you don't like this mantra, it's no problem. Let them sing it and may not do it. Find the teacher whom you'll be able to ask, "Are we going to sing the mantra Sata Nama?" I don't want to sing it. Let's chant some others, but not this one. Try to develop. Most importantly, make an effort for your development. If you think that yoga is for Indians, don't do yoga, put the candles. Perhaps this is your path. All people are different. On the other hand, if you came to yoga class and felt the effect, maybe it will help you to achieve the result. I know many people whom yoga helped. So, we develop yoga in every possible way, or at least make an effort for the development of yoga. Larissa asked the question, how do the yogis feel about biometric passports? I suppose that they use them as they travel. Does the biometric passport influence the spiritual development and the energy of a person? What the Christians warn of? Are you serious? Larissa, it's all nonsense. I had to change the passport last year. I had to change it to a biometric one because it's impossible to enter some countries with an ordinary passport. So if you want to enter the country, you can do it only with electronic chip, your fingerprint and your photo. But don't worry. Not all technologies are made to harm. There are some fanatics who think that everything is bad. But think about the internet that we use for communication. For some religious fanatics, it's an evil and just the devil incarnate. There are some countries where one can receive severe punishment for the internet. It's a fact. There are some countries where the internet is prohibited. There are some countries where Facebook is forbidden, because they believe that it can affect the political system somehow. Therefore, don't worry, this is not the worst thing that we have. Sometimes the people who warn of biometric passports write to me about the number of the beast that's encrypted. The number of the beast is encrypted there, where you'll never see it. Artyom asks the question, how to recover from tuberculosis through yoga? Artyom, I would advise you first to consult a specialist and only then think about yoga. But nevertheless, I know it's treated in ashrams in India. It's a fact. They offer huge doses of practice. One of my good friends had symptoms of tuberculosis, and she was offered to do conjugal kriya with 200 liters of water. If you don't know what conjugal kriya is, you will be very surprised. They offered a fragile girl to do conjugal kriya with 200 liters. And she did it 2 times, if I'm not mistaken, and it helped her. All the symptoms of tuberculosis were apparently terrified and ran away. But, once again, don't do it under any circumstances. I've just given the example that it is used in India, but you live in Russia, so I advise you first to consult a specialist, because the husband of my friend died of tuberculosis. Unfortunately, it's real, and the doctors tried to cure him, but he died. That's a fact. The child was left without a father. Therefore, it's not that simple. Kirill asks the question, why is karma given to people? There is such a theory that there was no karma as such in good times, in the Satya Yuga. People and all the living beings lived so harmoniously that they didn't need karma. But then, after a while, the selfishness of some people began to dominate the others, and people began to accumulate karma. Therefore, there is such a point of view that there is a special instance such as Shanidev, who is the part of Shiva's energy emanation. He is responsible for retribution, so that people don't lose their bearings. And this is not about people, but also gods, asuras, demons, nagas, gandharvas. All of them are under control of karma in some way. And Shani manifests the karma to make a person think about his actions. If a person moves in the wrong direction and makes troubles for the others, Shani appears in his way and says, "Think what you do, don't go there, it will cause the problems. Try to change the vector of your development." If it helps and a person thinks about his actions, he is very lucky. If not, he will accumulate even more karma. There are some people who completely deny the law of karma. They are very powerful people in this world now. The planet is ruled by those who deny the law of karma. That's why we have such a mess on the planet. If a country has oil, they go there. War has become the norm. People don't think about it. Probably they think that they will bring happiness with the help of their good intentions. Maybe. But what is happening in the world? There's a good film on this subject. Now there's the whole generation that hasn't watched the movie Zeitgeist. Right, Zeitgeist in the search bar. This movie came out probably 10 years ago. In my time, this film was the starting point of our work on dissemination videos. I remember when the first film came out, I recorded this movie on the discs and distributed them in my yoga classes. Find Zeitgeist on the internet and watch it. I think 4 parts of the film have already come out. The film shows that the things happening in the world are strange. People don't think about the consequences of their life and the decisions they make. Probably they don't think that they will face retribution, but it will happen sooner or later. If you exploit someone in this life, it means that someone exploited you in the past and you are reaping the fruits now. That is also sad. Or someone will exploit you in the future just like you treat other people now. But someone became mired in luxury and ambitions to such extent that they refuse to understand it. That's the problem. Therefore, the gods Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva created Shani for retribution out of compassion. Shani is, roughly speaking, the conductor of karma. Now, by the way, there's a good serial that is called Shani. You can write Shani in the search bar and find it. And we also have it on our video website. You can go to video.om.ru and find Shani in the section series. About 60 series have been already translated in Russian. Actually, there are about 110 series, but they're in Hindi, so I advise you to watch it. This serial is instructive, and it can help someone to think about his actions. Svetlana asks the question, Namaskar, Andrey, how much does it take to cleanse the body from meat, eggs and other toxic products? Svetlana, it's different for everyone. How are you going to cleanse? Will you drink green smoothie or do anything else? It's impossible to answer. I would advise you not to worry about it. So, if you have realized that you ate something wrong, and now you have the alternatives, then eat something that you consider the alternative. You will cleanse your body exactly the way you need. It's believed that when the new cells are created in the body, they take the place of the old cells. So the old cells have to die. And when they die, they tell the new cells on the basis of what food they were created. That's why meat eaters want to eat meat for some time. There's such a point of view that if you have built the body eating meat, the cells used to take this material for their reproduction. Therefore, this tendency continues for some time. The cells in the human body are regenerating at different speeds. It can take several years when a person may still want to eat meat. So, people don't think about the consequences at all. Or rather, for example, the bodies think. They explain why they eat meat. They say, I bring good to the animal I eat. But let's call a spade a spade. The Tibetan grew up in a specific culture. If you have never been to Tibet, probably you don't know that in winter there's nothing to eat except yaks. It's just hardcore there, especially in the highlands in winter. Nothing grows there at all. Only yaks are running there. But the Tibetans treat a yak as a sacred animal. For them, it's the savior. A Tibetan family kills a yak using certain rituals, and they eat this meat for a few months in the winter. They eat it slowly. I guess it's because the yak is big, but in my time I wondered why they do it. Okay, the question isn't about it. So don't focus on it too much. Try to live as adequately and effectively as possible. Don't eat the food you listed, and everything will gradually improve. Sergey asked the question. Andrey, tell us please why most of the male teachers of the Club of Rue cut their long hair. Sergey, I can tell you about myself. I don't know about other guys. Firstly, long hair needs too much care. I have no opportunity to take care of long hair and a long beard. I have either to pay a lot of attention to my appearance, brush and style my hair, or to be like that. Believe me, I tried different options. I had a beard and long hair several decades ago. But it's much easier for me to spend less time on the beard and hair. Probably other guys also have their own explanations, but I personally told a few people from our club, look at your appearance. If you are a teacher and you are going to share adequate information with people, but your mustache is already in the soup spoon, will the people take you seriously? No, probably not. So, please take care of your image from the point of view of the people who can hear some adequate information from you. But I guess there were other reasons when people just realized that it's easier to live without long hair. Okay, friends, let's move on. Nikita asks the question. The meditation retreat diving into silence showed that visualization is difficult for me, but it was rather easier to sit in the meditative asanas. There were no problems with legs. During the practice of visualization, I couldn't imagine neither a tree nor a practitioner, but the practice of concentration was good and so on. This is a long question. So, is it better to concentrate only on the one object? Actually, it's recommended to make the most efforts to do practices you are not good at, because if you are good at something, what's the point of spending time on it if you do it easily anyway? But probably it's better to keep balance. Nikita, to be honest, it's very individual. Try different options. Find out which of them will be more effective for your development and then choose it. There's no only one right option for all the people who will hear that. Andrey asks the question, tell me please, what to do if I feel anger and overexcitement after meditation? Andrey, what type of meditation do you do? Please describe it first, because it turns out that, from the point of view of psychology, your question means that you blame meditation. If you do something wrong, why do you blame meditation for that? I'll read the question to the end. So, Andrey feels anger and overexcitement after meditation, but he doesn't say what meditation he does. He asks how to deal with it. Well, Andrey, first of all, you should give up eating meat and any synthetic products which influence your emotional Svatisthana chakra, because overexcitement you feel is connected with the lower chakras. So your lower chakras are activated for some reason. How to deal with it? Do Hatha Yoga and pay attention to your diet. Meat causes a lot of irritability, because when an animal is killed, all the stress experienced by this animal remains in the meat. And a person eats these fears and stress and then begins to feel bad. The cunning Jews went even further. They began to produce kosher meat. They kill an animal very slowly in a cruel way. Who doesn't know? Find on the internet kosher slaughter and watch the video. The animals are suffering for a very long time. At least I watched how long they're killing a cow. There's a video about opening the first kosher slaughterhouse in Russia, where they invited an operator to film how they kill the cow, read holy books, and so on. It's a very long process. And when the operator saw it, he felt sick and ran away. He even forgot to turn off the camera. So you can see that the man is just running, shocked by the things he saw. Well, I'd like to tell you not how they do it, but why they do it. So there's an explanation for that. Once my friend, who personally saw this ritual, told me that they allegedly eliminate the energy of suffering in this animal. But they deny the law of karma, as I understood from the facts he told me about. They deny the law of karma, however, they make this meat allegedly clean. So there's a contradiction. But from the point of view of the law of karma, if you kill an animal and eat its body, it may have two reasons. Either you were killed and someone ate you, or you will be killed and someone will eat you. That's why, if you can, it's better to eat vegetarian food from my point of view and not only mine. Now, fortunately, more and more people become vegetarians. I hope this trend will continue. Andrey asks the question. Please make the video or send the link where you explain what the Krishnaites are on about. Realizing that they are based on Vedic sources, I can't still formulate the error in the interpretation of the Shastras. I don't understand the question. Okay, let's move on. When it comes to Vedas, for example, Ayurveda or Jyotish, the main people who bring knowledge in this area are Krishnaites or Vaishnavas. I know that you don't identify yourself as one of them. Please explain why. Because I don't want intuitively to join their ranks. But why do you think that Krishnaites are wrong about something? Please understand, I know a lot of people who are perfectly happy due to Krishnaites. At the same time, I know people who were really fanatical Krishnaites but then became adequate. They went through these ideas at a certain stage. As for the things I don't like, it is when they push the dolls on the swings and call each Krishna's service. I don't like when the adults board the dolls in the children's pool and also call each Krishna's service. It's kindergarten. I I don't like their gluttony, or excuse me, this is the wrong word. I don't like the feasts they make when people really hurt their health because of overeating. They don't control themselves, unfortunately. But don't get me wrong, I don't want to condemn anyone. This is just my attitude towards some things that I don't want to do. But at the same time, I know people whom it helps in some way. However, I'm not so tolerant to say that all kinds of things are good. But if a man or a group of people walk their path and they like it, it's no problem. To understand that when you condemn them, you can accumulate bad karma. I'll give you an example. This record will be put on the internet. The former Krishnaites told me about many negative things about their movement, and they said really nasty things. But it's their truth that they knew. Let's say I also know it. But if I tell someone this bitter truth, and some fleshly soul can hear that and say, "Oh, that's bad, I'll get away from them," I should ask myself, where will this person go? Will he find a better place for his level of development, where he won't be brainwashed even more strongly with some fanatical ideas? No, I can't guarantee that this will happen. So, why do people talk about weak points of this or that movement? Now, there are a lot of stories about Christians on the internet. Oh, it's just amazing. A lot of people discuss it, but what for? Well, you'll get a person out of the Christian church, but where? My experience shows what happens to a person who is a vain man and someone leads him. Roughly speaking, there are a shepherd and a sheep, as Christians say, and a shepherd leads sheep in one direction. If you get a sheep out of one flock, the sheep will join another flock. So I faced a lot of examples of people who had the karma to get to one flock, then to another one like sheep. And I gained the experience that it doesn't make any sense to fight with the flock where this sheep is. You should change the worldview of a person so that he wouldn't be like a sheep. Tell him about the alternative not from a negative point of view, but from a positive one. Show him the alternative forms of self-development that are different from what people do in the flock. I mean, certain strange things they do just because it's customary. Or try to understand in what world we live. It's just amazing. When a person is born in a family, he is immediately forced to be a follower of a particular religion. Parents don't ask his opinion. He is only a baby, but they take him somewhere and do certain rituals. Where is the freedom of choice? This is a direct violation of the cosmic principle of freedom of choice, when a person is forced to be a follower of a particular religion. It's absurd. So I hope you understand that we live not on the best planet, not with the best traditions. I can give you my example. My children grow up and I don't impose anything on them. If they want to make a choice in the future, I let them make a choice on their own. I know that the relatives even tried to take them to church. No problem. If the child is adequate and sees that you live adequately, no one will make him to join any sect. Live properly and be a good example. Everything will be fine. And it's useless to think that they're poor sheep from which the header shares wool. You couldn't help them. You should change the worldview of the sheep, but not to get it out of the flock. However, many people will disagree with me. There are people who have diametrically opposed view. I share my 25-year experience in yoga when I watched different traditions. Believe me, I studied many traditions very well. I am not going to give you an example of why and how, but I spent a lot of time to understand certain issues. Therefore, try to understand that Krishnaites are doing important work. Many people have become vegetarians only due to the international movement of Krishna consciousness. They have a lot of problems, but nevertheless, imagine how it's possible to affect the reincarnation of a person who at least became a vegetarian due to Krishnaites. Even if he doesn't chant their mantras and the holy names, it's no problem. At least he lives more environmentally friendly. This is a great good. We should thank them for what they do, and they do a lot. They are great. So, thank you for the questions you asked. We have talked about the so-called dharma or tried to discuss dharma from different points of view. If you can do yoga, that's great. If you watch this video, I'm glad to meet you in this life. I hope it's not last time. Hope to see you soon and continue walking the path of self-development together. Thank you. Om.